The beginning of genetic engineering can be traced back to 1935 when Russian scientist Andrei Nikolaevich Belaruski isolated pure DNA. However, it was not until 1994 that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the first genetically engineered food, the Flavr Savr Tomato, to be sold to the public. Calgene Incorporated, a biotechnology research and development firm in Davis, California, developed the Flavr Savr Tomato in hopes of bringing customer satisfaction by making the tomato's life longer. However, it did much more than that. The first FDA genetically modified food helped improve the lives of Americans by increasing public opinion, pioneering more research on genetically modified foods, and aiding in nutritional health.
The Flavr Savr Tomato was highly publicized and had extensive media coverage, which had a great impact on public opinion regarding GMOs. A 1994 New York Times article specifically describes the tomato as being genetically altered to ripen longer on the vine while remaining firm for picking and shipping, characteristics that should make it more flavorful and last longer than most other tomatoes on the market. Some news stations even called this tomato the super tomato. Belinda Martineau, a former principal Calgene scientist, stated that the Flavr Savr tomato was well received by the public. She said that it was mostly due to its transparency. Quoting Martineau, the tomato was clearly labeled, it had a point of purchase brochures explaining how the tomato was genetically engineered, and it even had a 1-800 number on it. Roger Salkis, the former CEO of Calgene, stated that people loved the new tomato. He said they sold every tomato for $1.99 per pound, which was twice the price of other tomatoes. According to the New York Times Retro Report, some people were not bothered by the fact that the fruit was genetically modified. However, after Calgene sold the company to Monsanto in 1996, consumers' intake and opinion changed mainly because Monsanto decided not to label their GMO products. The Food Policy Institute did a study in 2004 which shows a 42% decrease from 2001 to 2004 on the awareness of eating GMO food. It also shows that over 76% of the people believe that only available GMO product is the tomato, even though the GMO tomato was taken out of stock in 1997. Another study done in 2003 even shows that people's opinion from 2001 to 2003 regarding how their quality of life would worsen much more increased by 4%. People started to protest about Monsanto regarding GMO labeling or GM in general. An advocacy group called March Against Monsanto actually believes that the GM food leads to serious health conditions that has never been proven. Public opinion regarding GM food varies. However, it has been shown in a 2003 research done by the Food Policy Institute that 38% of the population did not even care if the products were properly labeled, and those who did was because they believed that GM food was a risk to their health. After the development of the Flavr Savr tomato, other scientists within the Monsanto and other companies started to develop other genetically modified foods that will revolutionize the agricultural industry such as the rice production in China.
The purpose of the study conducted by Chen et al. Is to evaluate the impact and significance of genetically modified rice. The first insect-resistant genetically modified rice was developed in 1989 in China and was finally perfected on October 2009. Due to a yield reduction caused by pests, food security is threatened because of rice yields constraints and need to improve rice quality. This is an issue that the entire globe, including the United States, faces because if China begins to import rice from other countries to feed its growing population, food will become scarce in other parts of the world. Thus, it is important that China be able to meet its own food needs, thus genetically modifying rice to reduce pest influence is key to meeting that goal. Because of the more than 200 types of insect pests in China that are damaging rice yields, various control strategies for pest management have been practiced throughout China's history. Despite the different control methods developed for rice pests, farmers still rely heavily on synthetic insecticides because of a lack of education and incomplete understanding, which are causing environmental pollution, farmer illnesses, and insecticide-related food poisoning. Thus, the Chinese government, research institutes, and other academic researchers have been focused on finding newer and safer methods to control rice pests. Agricultural biotechnology has been increasingly explored, and many national key laboratories have been formed that study crop genetics, which is the origin of genetically modified rice that is safe, disease-resistant, and resistant to pests.
Without the Flavr Savr tomato modification, we wouldn't have even been able to find a way to making our food more nutritious to our health. According to Rocky, the modified tomatoes' vitamins B6, C, and A were only increased by small percentages, but through that small start began a series of modified food dedicated to help America's health. This includes again China's golden rice that had vitamin A supplements, and even caused a once doubtful GMO activist, Linus, to realize how GMOs could help solve world hunger and apologized for trying to protest against production of this unique food staple.
Up front, I want to apologise for having spent several years ripping up GM crops. I'm also sorry that I helped start the anti-GM movement back in the 90s and that I thereby assisted in demonising an important technological option which can and should be used to benefit the environment.
If people were afraid of GMOs affecting them with highly dangerous diseases, they shouldn't even worry since these genetically modified consumables have, and I quote, a more than 20-year track record of being grown and used commercially without a single human illness known to be caused by GM food or feed, as said in a case study by Goldenstein Daniel. Even the government organization U.S. Food and Drug Administration has stated that genetically modified food that were approved were safe to consume, and they were the very same ones who had approved of the Flavr Savr Tomato. In short, the Flavr Savr Tomato's genetic modification became the igniting spark to enhancing American lives through piquing the masses' interest, research on GMOs, and nutritional health support.